Good afternoon. Tom Ginn hosting GeForce Friday. Today, I'm really excited for a lot of reasons, and I'm grateful for the guest that's coming on here that's pinch hitting today. And she's going to hit a home run for us. There's no doubt about that. But before I roll out today, G is for stands for gratitude. I believe when we practice and understand gratitude at a deeper level, at the heart level, everything in our life changes. When we have obstacles and disappointments and challenges, when we go to a space of gratitude, it changes everything, how we respond or deal with anything. And I'm so grateful for this moment, this very moment, because it's the most valuable time that I have. And how I deal with this moment is going to determine my future, the future results of this moment. So gratitude negates negativity. It gives different perspective. It has a spiritual principle. It's so powerful when you really study the power of gratitude and the spiritual principles behind it. It will radically, what I call it, give you emotional homeostasis, be in a state of gratitude. So with this all said, I'm really excited to introduce my guest today. We have connected through the Association Art Tribe, what I call Grow Live Academy. We're all involved in this process. Our tribe is growing with fantastic people like Sandy, and I've been watching her live streams, and I said, I got to have her on as a guest. And the opportunity showed up the other day, and I put that message out, and here she is. I'm going to introduce Sandy Archer. Welcome, Sandy.
Hi. Thank you. Thank you for having me on. I'm so excited to be on the GeForce today.
So well, thank you. Thank you. That's how we met, was through GeForce. I started following some of your stuff, and of course you've seen some of our broadcasts here in GeForce, and but today is just going to be sort of a free flow, the best way I can describe it. But I really want to know a little bit of, share with the audience where you're from, what you're currently doing, and I know you're in the coaching space. I know you have some pastoral experience. Just share your journey, your purpose, your why.
Absolutely.
And maybe some of your philosophy about gratitude and how you use that in your development with yourself and other people. So the stage is yours, Sandy.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for having me on. Well, my journey, and when you get to a certain point at where I'm at in my life, has been a long journey, which we all have. Like all of us have a long life journey. And my journey started in St. Louis. I was grown up in St. Louis, Missouri. And that was when I started my journey. And then I moved, was a Navy wife, and I've moved all over. And so I've had a lot of transition in my life. And so the last place I lived was Virginia Beach, but I now live in Kansas City, but getting ready to move to Florida. So I like moving at this point, because I was a military wife. So, you have to really understand transition and really adapt to that when you're in a military wife mode. You're always changing things. You're moving 2 to 3 years. The last place I lived was about 26 years, but that was where I started my journey of trying to reveal my spiritual self. And so that is where I became a pastor, and I really loved, loving on people. And that really was where I started with the coaching piece of it. I was always a manager in anything that I've done. I've kind of climbed the ladder of different places in my life and careers, professions. And so I always knew I liked to lead people and to help people. So pastoring to me seemed like a very good place for me, because that's leading people and, also being able to use all the skills that I had. But it just transitioned into something else, and I now am transitioned into coaching. So that's why I'm a neural spiritual wellness coach. So now I'm a coach because
I'm going to back you up a little bit. You say that again. That's a whole lot you just said there. A neural what?
Neural spiritual wellness coach.
Okay.
Right.
Give me a picture for me, so I know what that looks like.
Neural is in the mind, right? So spiritual in wellness. So it's putting the mind, body, spirit together. So that's what I mean when I say neural spiritual wellness coach, because it's kind of putting all three places, because it's not just focusing in on where you're at spiritually, but it's also where you're at physically and where you're at, you know, with everything else and what's going on up here. So that's why it's a neural spiritual wellness coach. And it's funny, a doctor friend of mine, he was a internal medicine doctor. And when I went to him and I told him I was a spiritual wellness coach, he goes, "You mean like a neural one?" And he said, "Well, because you have to use your mind." And I was like, "Hey, that's great." And he goes, "You can do that." You can be that. So I thought that was great. But I was already doing NBP and NDP, sorry. And so different other modalities, you know, to help with coaching. So it just kind of flowed, and I thought that was interesting.
You know, as we're going through here today, and it's going to be a free throw, and I hear you say something, I just want to maybe get some clarification or, a new awareness on that. And I'm a coach, and I've studied under Bob Proctor and a number of other people. I'm not just a single follower of that, but I've used that as my foundation and platform. But something you said there, and I think, a lot of people are seeking coaching and mentoring and consulting, and they all have different definitions for different things. But when we're talking about changing behavior from the inside out, that it, as Bob would say, if it doesn't have a spiritual connection, doesn't follow within the spiritual life, it's short-lived. And I believe that's really important, is how we think and how we operate at an emotional level works within law. Right. And God is spiritual law, and his word and everything we do is law. So I think, there's so many people up there coaching, but I also see those that have the greatest impact really understand that spiritual connection. Would you think that's an important factor?
Absolutely. I mean, one of my favorite scriptures, is transforming and renewing your mind. He does do that. I mean, that word transforming and renewing isn't just in the one spiritual realm. God uses it. That he's the spiritual realm that uses that. And that's what we're always doing. We're always transforming and renewing. So it's really important to be in touch with that and to check in with yourself and how you're going about doing that. Now, sometimes, like me, I need to have a plan. I need to have things written out. So I need to follow certain people's techniques, but I still am checking in with God and how does that fit in with my own life, And so when someone comes to me, I need to understand them and that mind, body, spirit, where are they at in each place, because that is how I'm going to help them, to encourage them to go forward in whatever their goals are, to meet those. Because as a coach, I'm not, I'm not a professional psychologist. I'm not a counselor, but I'm a coach. But I can, put the pieces together and say, yeah, in your emotions, and maybe this, you might need some professional counseling over here, but let's work on this over here to get you to your goals and to live your best life that you can live. So it's really important. But, I believe the physical body is important too. So it isn't just, the one thing, it's got to be the three things, they have to fit together they have to fit together.
Absolutely. We're a body of one, the oneness, and that's what you shared with it, and one affects the other, so one way or another. So So when when we talked off camera here, the steps and where you're at, what you're doing, where you're transitioning to, but when did you make that decision you wanted to get into the coaching, mentoring arena, and what was your why around that? What do you want to? Who do you want to help?
Well,
Because
what's
everybody
funny,
wants to help everybody. But in reality, Tom Ginn relates to certain people, and I can get you to where I'm at. When I coach, some people may not resonate with me.
right,
You could say the same thing, the resonation goes there.
right.
So what was the thing that caused you to make that shift, and that's
It
the
was
path
it
you
was
want to go?
my it was because of something that my own journey is what launched me into the coaching side, because at the time I was at a middle life empty nester, transitioning from married to divorcing, and I was just in this, I had a bunch of things happening all at one time. So I had to reach out and get a coach myself. So I reached out, I got a coach, and as she was helping me, um, she kept saying to me, you know, you should be a coach. You know, you have all the skills. I mean, she was the one that really was the pinnacle of encouraging me to do that, because she saw that I automatically was doing that. When I went through this transition, it was a really hard time. Um, I recognized I didn't have any friends around me, which is hard to believe. I was friendly. I had a bunch of friends, but I didn't have that true connection, because I was always helping to counsel them. So I was doing all the counseling. So when it was time for me to need counseling, I didn't have anybody there. So I recognized that I had always been doing that naturally, innately. So in about 2019 is when I said, okay, I'm gonna. She said, do it. You know, I said, well, I'm not through my transformation yet. And she said, that's the best place to be. This is when you need to start, because you can help those people that are going through the same thing that you're going. Now, flash forward, I'm about 3 years down the line, but still transforming, still in change, because we always are. We're always transforming. So she was right, and I listened to her, and I started coaching at that point, and really, you know, trying to get, you know, to see what my niche was. Who were I who whose demographic was I helping? So it's mainly middle-aged women, kind of coming out of that empty nest. It may be divorcing, has some brokenness, and is just trying to figure out where they're going and what they need to do next. And so those are the people that I want to help, and those are the people that do help. So that's just kind of my niche. So
Wonderful. There's such a great need, in this whole arena coaching, and everybody has, I call them different wounds, ego wounds or psychological, emotional wounds, all these things that, whether it be a divorce, be it whatever the case may be.
yeah,
So you experiencing your story, I have, Tom Ginn has his story, and that relates with people. So,
right.
so predominantly women that have a similar journey that they've gone through, relationships that didn't work, transitioning, kids out of the house, what do I
Yes.
do now, type
Well,
of thing.
right. What's funny is those are the people that I say that are probably my demographic, but I do find that I actually have more male male clients coming to me than female, only because of they're also going through that same transition. So I have opened it up to both, you know, not just women, but men and women that are kind of in that place. We're in middle age, we kind of don't know, you know, maybe you're successful where you're at, but maybe you're not happy. So, you know, let's get to the place of why you're not happy and how we can get you to where you're happy. So, I mean, that, you know, that fulfillment of where you're at, and that could be you're empty spiritually, you're empty physically, or you need to renew some things in your mind. So it just depends on where you're at in your journey. And that's the way that, that's why I do discovery calls, is to find out, where you're at and how I can help, people to get to where they want their best life. So
I'm going to ask you a question. You mentioned being happy, people seeking happiness, but I also believe on a spiritual thing, we're not seeking happiness. We're seeking joy,
we're seeing,
because in the Bible never talks about happiness. It's
right.
speaking out joy.
Yes.
And I always like using the example, we have happy birthdays, right? And after a while, I'm happy another day, another life, all that. But there's times in life where we have a joyful birthday, and that has a different connotation and resonation. Is, for example, my favorite aunt, hadn't seen her for years, surprised me at a birthday. It wasn't a happy birthday, it was a joyful, because
Right.
it's now embedded with me. That's what we're seeking, that feeling at a much higher level. So happiness, I think, is just nothing more than a state of mind. Joy is what we're really seeking and fulfilling that out.
Right.
Do you think that's an appropriate?
It is, and I feel like it goes further, not just the joy, but the joy of what? The joy of the Lord. So they're seeking the joy of the Lord. So the Lord is who they're seeking, and that is what's going to fill up that void place. And if they don't know Him and they don't know God, and I think that's where people, that's why I want to see where they're at, mind, body, spirit, what reservoir is depleted, where is it that we need to focus on for you to get that, well filled up, so to speak.
Wonderful. So moving forward here, you mentioned something in our pre-launch here this afternoon. The word warrior. Your warrior. I like you. That got me curious. What does that really mean? What is that? How does that translate coming through you?
Well, I feel like for a long time I've lived in warrior mode, and I call it living in warrior mode. And that means that I'm not going to let things just happen to me. I'm going to defend myself, and I'm going to go after those things, that I need to conquer, and within myself. And it isn't conquering other people, and it isn't conquering, other things. It's really conquering those things in myself. And, I mean, I live in warrior mode, and I was telling you also about genealogy. And so I have a lot of genealogy that has a lot of warriors in it. And I always resonate with those ancestors and like to, kind of spotlight them in my life and think, well, my DNA is warrior mode. So I gravitate towards that, and I gravitate towards that era in the Middle Ages and all those things. But living in warrior mode is, again, just having your shield and your sword, always having that on. And I could even liken it to, putting on the armor of God. So, even God talks about putting that armor on. And so when I'm talking about warrior mode, I am talking about, having, all of the pieces of Ephesians 6:10. So if you look that up and see what the pieces that you need, that's what I mean in warrior mode. So
Okay. Yeah, that tells me a little bit more, and that a little bit more about to the audience out there of what your focus, and that is sort of what I'd call a desire level. It's something that drives you to manifest yourself at a higher level. Am I hearing you correctly? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to go after things, and I'm not going to let things just come at me. I'm going to fight to the death. So I'm going to fight it, and, I just feel like that a lot. Like I have to, have that shield and that sword, and, and have the wisdom on when to wield it and when to protect myself. So
Yeah.
that's kind of.
I've got something here because we're coaches, and we're generally, when you look at, from, I know where you come from on the spiritual side, and understand some things I've heard from you, and from my personal development and my influencers and mentors talking about the principles there, how important they are to grow. Without that, it's all knowledge. You don't succeed because you have knowledge. You succeed because you're connected with an energy greater than yourself. And that's where people are stuck. They're out of what I call spiritual balance. Something's out of balance. Something's in the wrong order. And because the universe operates by law, spiritual principles are law. They operate exactly the same under all circumstances for everybody, even if you don't have faith. They're still working.
Right.
But I think that's really important, is that in getting coaching and mentoring is, what is the power that you're trying to plug into? Not the knowledge. What is the power that you can find within yourself? Because every person has infinite supply of love and creativity and genius.
Yes.
But we can't comprehend as human beings infinite supply,
Right.
can we? No matter where we are whatever we call success in life, whatever, and everybody's going to have different. Even the most successful people I've encountered, I've coached millionaires and won a billionaire. Okay, and everybody, including myself, has some sort of limiting belief in themselves or the next step.
That's right.
So, but when we open up that lid and tap into that infinite supply, and that takes work. It takes some faith. It takes belief. But it also takes how to tune into that awareness, that vibrational level. Everything that we feel is an emotion. Love's an emotion, and we can feel that vibration. So, I got to ask you this question: when you're working with a client, I come from a space that I don't approach goals. I don't ever talk about goals. They're the processes. I'm a big person understanding creating the vision and have that clearly defined, as clear as a picture, as me looking at you with all the details and what's the emotional attached to it, and then work from there back, and then put your goals in place. But what's your thoughts on vision in relationship to how you work with clients?
Well, it's really unique. I mean, vision is unique. I mean, it's unique as the person. I mean, it depends on and even though, I work with them in the short-term goal, the long-term goal, you're trying to get to the short-term goal or getting unstuck from something. It just depends on why you're coming to me, what your vision is of what you see your life, what you want it to look like. Of course, I'm a big, huge vision board proponent. I do vision boards with them. I say, hey, write down, in the next year or 2 to 5, depending on, why they showed up is to what they'll will be on their vision board. So vision boards to me are important. Having a vision, some people don't have vision, and that always shocks me, and I'm like, oh, you don't have a vision. Okay. So you have to kind of pull that out of them. They really do. They just don't know how to speak about what it is and how to form it and how to get it out there. So really, a vision of, a lot of people, I want $1 million. Well, no, okay, that's not a vision. That's a want. I want to own a, coffee shop. Now that's more of a vision. Instead of making how are you going to make that happen? Why do you want that coffee shop? Why, how are you going to get there? And start off with the basics. So, those are goal setting types of things, and get down to the whys. So, why do you want this? And it's funny, the why question, how it opens up to other things that go to the past, obviously. So, I try to keep them in the present and in the future and not going into the past so much. to keep their vision clear, because you can cloud up your vision with your past. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
So you need to be clear, so.
Hey, Charles, thanks for jumping on and making your comments. We appreciate it much.
Oh, hey, Charles. Hey, Coach.
Yeah, Charles, it's always is coming from the place of God. I appreciate his Bible stuff that he does, and I can jump in from time to time. So, Charles, thanks for being here today. I'm going to ask this question because we're seeing how we're talking about vision. Are you aware of Dr. Miles Monroe?
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
Have you studied him at being a pastor and some things?
Yes.
Many times being a coach, we think, I know go there, but as I learn more from my clients than probably I'm teaching them. Okay, because that's a process that you evolve. So one of my clients, young man out of New York, former quarterback with Syracuse, and he was slated to be a #1 draft choice in the NFL, but he got injured in his senior year. And guess what happened? Because he had lucrative contracts on the horizon, multi-million dollars, but when he got injured, all his support around him disappeared. And I found him through LinkedIn. And I was coaching this young man for it's been about 4 years now. He's a phenomenal young man, inner city New York kid. Okay, but anyway, he turned me on to my coaching. He says, "Tom, you need to follow this guy a little bit." And I started studying him, and it's changed how I put that process of where you want to go in a different realm, because it's spiritual and it makes life easy. It's the litmus test. Is anything that's coming in your life supporting your vision? If it doesn't, you don't entertain it. You don't chase the silver objects. It really having that vision and your why, it makes life easier.
Yeah.
Peaceful, not easier, because life is going to throw whatever it's going to throw.
More peaceful. Right.
Yeah.
Right. But your God's vision for you and your vision, that's why I focus on people's purpose. So getting to know what their purpose is, if your vision is to own a coffee shop, but your purpose is not in line with that, sometimes those things won't line up, and sometimes those things won't happen. What birthed that want to own a coffee shop? Was it money, or was it you want to help people, or what was that reason? And so that's why purpose is very important. And what I do is not just doing the goals, but also finding out what your purpose is, making sure that you're walking in your purpose. When you walk in your purpose, things just come to you. If you're not walking in your purpose, things seem to be a little harder. I'm not going to say, totally difficult, because we can absolutely learn and educate ourselves on doing anything, if we put our mind to it, but that doesn't mean that your body and your spirit are in line with it. So lining up with what God's vision for you is so much easier in your purpose. God, we're talking about spiritual things. So, when I was 7, I understood God, at 7, and that was the first time I experienced God and kind of understood who he was. And he nicknamed me then. And it's interesting that I've walked out that nickname that he'd given me at the time. And then every older gentleman would say that same name to me over the years. And so I knew that God had named me that particular thing. And so I knew that had something to do with my purpose, so just little things like that, God tells you who you are. He does. He really does. He really does name you, and absolutely, that's how you can get in touch with, what your purpose is lining up with him. And that's huge for me and my coaching. Not everybody that comes to me is in that place, and that's fine. I will work with them anyway. And and find out where they're at in their place. You know, they could be walking in their purpose. They could be following God's principles, but not knowing that those are God's principles. Like that's what's really cool is when I see a person like that. Like they have no idea, you know, like God has been in the midst of this the whole time. He's the one who's created you. So, you know, you just didn't have that revelation until now. So I in my coaching, I have navigating you to revelation, and that's the revelation. That's what I'm navigating you towards, is that revelation of who you are and your purpose, and how can we get you to, you know, walking that out and living, you know, because God is the one that gives you your dreams. God is the one that gives you your vision, you know. And I think that when we take him out of that, that's when things get all wonky.
Yeah.
So.
And as a personal development coach and walking the same path you're doing here, Charles is asking, what's your nickname?
Sunshine.
Sunshine. Yes, I can see that. I can see that. Love it. Sunshine. Okay. Thanks, Charles. I was waiting for somebody to ask. So, you know, great job, Charles, keeping us on task here. Just want to get the audience involved. That's what we're being trained, right, with the Grow Life Academy. But
yes, thanks, Charles.
Sunshine. Now it's out.
Yes.
It's out.
Yes.
So,
and that was when I knew I was an encourager. Sunshine to me means encouragement. Sunshine to me means light. Sunshine means to me encouraging light. So I'm encouraging Jesus. So
yeah,
that's it.
As you were talking there, you know, is when that person finds their purpose. Many of my clients come in, they have no idea what they really want or desire. They have no clear picture, and then working through it. And lots of times they'll express, this is what I want, and this is my purpose. And when they really do that deeper work and see the revelation of this is the path, and they pursue it, and that's the greatest. I get more. That's my reward. It's just seeing that transformation, people moving in the path that it's coming from within, and they're expressing it, and they are doing it. That's the greatest reward. And myself as a coach is seeing that happen, because many times I never direct them where they want to go. I let that other power do its thing. But when they get it, when that sunshine hits, right, the light, whatever that is, what a beautiful experience that is for all parties involved.
Yes, one of my past professions where I was a manager and I was able to career path people. That was my favorite thing. I loved getting, you know.
You went dead on me. Are you still there?
Yes, I'm here. Sorry.
Okay.
There. Can you see me now?
Well, I just lost your audio for a second, so I don't know if it was just it.
Sorry. So
you're good.
So career pathing definitely was something I loved to do. You know, I knew that I had a good employee, but I knew that they would be better over here in this other department and doing this other thing. And I would say, why don't we have a meeting? And then I would see that there was a job opening or something like that. So that was something I loved to do. So I knew that I could actually, that was a talent that I was given. That was a skill set I was given, that I was able to see other people's potential in their careers and what they should be doing. You know, nope, you shouldn't be sitting here being a claims analyst. You need to be over here, you know, doing this other thing. So that was very, very rewarding for me at the time. And so this coaching now, that's exactly what I get to do. And I just love that. And it's kind of like, you know, come to me if you want to know what your purpose is, because let's talk about it and let's figure that out, you know, because that gets me excited, because, you know, I want to see people succeed. I want to see people walk in their purpose. I want them to be fulfilled as a person, you know, and not just spinning their wheels and not being bitter and, you know, not being, you know, discouraged. I mean, we all have a journey, and sometimes life is tough and things get thrown at us, and, you know, we need to, and you mentioned baseball. I think about baseball. I live in warrior mode and baseball mode, just saying. So I love baseball, and it's kind of like I always gauge things on both of those, you know, which is kind of a male thing versus a female thing, right?
Hey, I never knew that you identified sport enthusiasts by male or female. I think it's just the energy. I saw you in your Kansas City Chiefs garb, and what's the Kansas City baseball team? What are they called?
Oh, we don't talk about them, but they're the Royals because I'm a Cardinals fan.
Oh, okay. We're
I'm a Cards fan. I grew up in St. Louis. We're a baseball town.
okay.
So,
Okay.
so
So
that's
our
probably,
nemesis is for you is Milwaukee. So you know they
oh,
will.
I know the Brewers. Yes, I know. I know them.
But you know that sort of leads me to something is you know we talked you know earlier is the disciplines that athletes have, what they apply in to perform at a high level of baseball, football.
Yes.
When you really break it down and what they do, it's no difference in take those same processes or mindset we talked about
Yes.
and just apply it to relationship, business. There's a common thread, and that's what I love about athletes. A lot of times they're not even aware of what the coach is doing, getting the vision, the outcome, the championship, and all those things.
Yes.
And then they get so clear on that vision, they're willing to do what I call the hard work.
They are. Yes.
And
And they have the best fulfillment if they have those three things, the mind, body, spirit, you know, in balance. You know, I've seen the most successful ones usually have those three things under control, and that's, you know, where they're at. Yeah.
yeah, and you see it in other celebrities. I won't mention names for anything like that.
Right.
They've got all this talent in the world. They're conquering their specific sport, but they're out of balance on a moral level or a spiritual level, and everything burns up around them.
That's right. That's right.
And it's so important because the physical, I call the trappings or ornaments of life. If there's not a purpose and it's not aligned with a higher power, what doesn't make any difference what faith or who you pray to, in my opinion,
Right.
as long as you recognize that there is a power greater than you that you're co-creating with. I'm not a God, so I'm not creating anything. I'm just co-creating
Right.
what's God's talents. He's revealing it to me all the time. So I always love that. I'm a former football player, and so I understand that arena. But it's you can see the garments people wear in life.
Oh yeah.
Because you know you've been in with our workshop, Glenn Morshower, and I love what he said. What's your first thought?
Yeah.
And I created a quote out there. The threads of your thought create the garment you wear.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. Yeah.
So
great. And I follow Jim Rohn. So you had asked me earlier who, you know, I like Jim Rohn quotes. When I was a health educator, I used a lot of his quotes. And there's quite a few inspirational YouTube videos out there, you know, with athletes in them. And to me, you know, people just look at the athlete, but I mean, there's so much more to that. You know, they have to use their mind. They have to use their all three pieces, you know, to overcome all of those things. And so, yeah, I do admire athletes and, you know, follow, you know, feel like that's in our training, like we're always training, right? Don't you think like we're always training either whatever you're focused on, you know, is it on your body? Is it on your mind? You know, training is education, you know, is it your spiritual life? You know, are you seeking, you know, studying there? You know, what is it that you're focusing on? Just make sure that that's lining up with where you're supposed to be at, and you know what your focus is, because you know what your focus is what's going to overcome you. But if you try to keep those in balance, you know, the three, that's where you'll be successful. I think I read not too long ago what you should always have, and I do. I sleep with books on my bed, which is ridiculous, but I do. I have books that are just kind of around me. Sometimes I don't open them, but sometimes I do. And they say to grab the closest one to you and read about 5 pages of it. So, say you put a mind, body, spirit book around, like, I have the Bible there. I have a book that's helping me with business, and then I have a book that's helping me, maybe emotionally, and going to encourage me, and an affirmation book. So, if you grabbed one of those books, maybe before you got out of bed, and just, read 5 pages of each one of them, you'd have some balance in your life for the day, so.
Absolutely. If you looked around my office, looking out in my living room and my wife's office, the amount of books we have, and we're always reading daily, So I'm a big proponent of reading. And when you look at the most successful people in any field or anything,
That's right.
The average high performer, whatever that definition is, they read 4 to 5 books a month.
Right.
They're not novels. There's something about improvement in that area. People say, how do you read 4 to 5 books a month? You mentioned it. Read 3 or 4 pages in each book a day. And before you know, at the end of 1 month, you've read 1 book.
Right.
Or 4 or 5 books. And
right.
So that's how it's done. People think I pick up a book and sit 4 hours reading through this book. That's not the way to do it. So, in my opinion, if you want to.
And I think preparation, like me, I'll set out, like my vitamins with the food I'm going to have, and, the next day, or, anything. I mean, just treat yourself right. Think about, plan things for yourself that are going to be positive, and that are going to be the best you. You can pre-plan those things, the night before, try to pre-plan those things. There's so many apps out there right now that give you little reminders and timers, and, I mean, you have to build your life the way that you want it.
Exactly.
You can do that. You have the control over that. No one has control of it but you. If you let life just keep coming at you, that's how you're going to live your life. But if you're going to pre-plan some things for a positive outcome, you have to plan it. You can't just let it just go at you. Even though most of my interviews are free flow, like you were talking about. but at the same time, I as much as I'm free flow, I'm also structured. So I'm a structured free flow, knowing that I have to have those planning things in place, or I'm not going to be successful. So knowing that you have to do those things to be successful, and just not let your life control you, but you control your life.
Exactly. And that's what I believe. When you go through personal development coaching, awareness is the foundation of growth. Just only through awareness can you move and grow.
Yes.
And so then that just propels you, that gives you order in life. The first thought of your morning, and I love that. What's your first, when you wake up in the morning, do you have a routine other than the biological stuff we need to take care of? What do you do the first thing in the morning to set your stage? Talking about setting up a process. What's the thing that you do?
Okay. So I'm going to be authentic and truthful here. I ask Alexa what time it is. That's the first thing. Because I got to make sure I heard my alarm. I go, Alexa, what time is it? And then she says, and then you can actually pre-program some things for her. What is the quote of the day? What is the weather out today? So I start asking my Alexa different questions, and then I get out of bed. So I ask her, like, weather, quotes, that there's another thing I have in there. And sometimes I'll have music, but not often. Sometimes I just jump out. jump out of bed. Okay, it's ready to go, and then
Yeah.
head towards the coffee pot, and then,
I don't have an Alexa. I had my own beliefs why I didn't want to have an Alexa.
well, I figure I'm so boring that if they're listening to me,
And that sort of leads to what I start my day off. That first minute or 2 minutes when I get up is go to space of gratitude, because that sets the stage for me.
Yeah.
Because I have another opportunity.
Yes.
Have blessings come to me and me be able to take my talents out, and I look forward to that. So that's where I start my day. And then my wife and I, we get together and we do some readings and contemplation and that type of thing. And that sort of sets my stage, instead of getting up immediately and checking my Facebook feeds and emails and all that. I spend a good hour and a half every morning feeding myself sunshine. How about that?
That's great.
Yes.
I'm
going to use your terminology.
No, that's great. And like I said, I usually I'm a late sleeper, so if I woke up a little bit more disciplined, probably a half an hour earlier, I could do that. But I'm not a morning person, so doing the
I tell you what, if we were coaching, I wouldn't let you go to that space.
Not a morning person.
You could be any person you want to be.
That's right.
You made a choice not to be a morning person.
I think so. I'm a night. I'm more of a night owl. Yes. So
that's a fun thing about coaching you. You say, well, I'm not gonna let you buy into that thing. Where did you get that thought from? Where did that belief come from?
It's not a belief. It's a reality.
Okay. All right. But I know where we talked about 30 minutes or so. Are you good?
Right over. Yes.
Yeah, we're at 50 minutes, and I could talk all day long with you. But I would like to, you mentioned something about a vision board, and I always like to relate to a lot of times people may be seeing this, and I used to have this perception or belief system. Vision board is hokey pokey. I remember years ago, create a vision board and blah, blah, blah. And nothing happens till you believe it anyway, right?
Right.
But I love what UCLA did in a study. People that have a vision board out in front of them, their whys, their purpose, and all those things in front of them on a regular basis, they end up accomplishing 80% of all that.
Yes.
Success leaves clues. So those out there think vision boards or writing and get that clear mental picture is hokey pokey. A lot of you hear that lots of times, but woo woo. It is not science-based, backed. And if you apply those principles, life changes.
Right.
Life changes. You
Right.
change yourself, the environment around you starts changing, or you change the environment.
That's right.
And everything aligns with your vision and your purpose when you're clear on that.
My first vision board in high school, I remember a teacher that I had, and I don't remember what class it was, but she had us all do a vision board way back then. And I was like, wow, she was ahead of the she was way ahead, because that was quite a few years ago.
Yeah.
So she was having us do that then. And I've actually had people say, well, I don't have any magazines or something, crazy like that. So you don't have to have magazines to get a vision board. But
yeah, what are magazines, right? I got a screen capture now, but I guess the only way I can get stuff. But yeah, what was a magazine, right?
I was like, because that's what we did way back then. They're like, I don't have any magazines. I'm like, I've got lots of magazines. I get them in the mail every day. So, So anyway, well, I don't want to keep you, but so
no problem. No problem.
Thank you so much for
Sunshine.
having me on. And
I've got one question for you.
Yeah, great. Okay.
Working with people and your life experiences and the things that have evolved through your awareness and that, what do you think might be, Charles making us say, great job, Tom and Sandy, blessings. Thank you, Charles. God bless you as well, my friend. You're an awesome
Thanks,
man of
Coach.
God. appreciate you.
Yes.
So in your walk, and most people will say this, fear is the number one reason it holds people back. And we can get into that. But what do you see is the obstacle people that you see that you can help them recognize to get through it? What might that be, and how to help somebody? A nugget that you see out there that.
What is a thing that I can help them? Well, usually when somebody, the block that they have usually, and you said fear, it's not always fear-based. It's that limiting belief that you were talking about earlier. Having a limiting belief about themselves. It's a limiting belief. They somehow have bought into something that was said to them that they would labeled with maybe a long time ago. Usually that's what I see, is that people are dealing with their child, their inner child. They're dealing with the obstacles that were from way back when. And so that's when I encourage them to seek what that is in them. And I usually will tell them to go to a professional if it seems like it's a deep rooted something, but let's talk about it. Let's get to it. Because, if somebody said, if I say something to them, like, how are you feeling today? And they say this, and I say, why? And I ask the why, and then it goes into the past, that's obviously something that they've been dealing with their whole life. So I encourage them to go get professional help, to try to unpack that. A coach, like with me, I'm not there to help them through that stuff. I'm helping them, for present and for future. And so if it's something that they need past counsel with, I absolutely encourage that. And there's nothing wrong with going to professional counselors. There's nothing wrong with getting your mental health balanced. So, I always encourage that. And I used to work for a psychiatrist and a psychologist. So, I've worked with lots of different professionals like that. And people used to say to me, oh, you work in that place, and all the people are crazy. And I said, no, I said, the people that don't come into the office are the ones I'm scared about, not the ones that do. Because the ones that are coming in are trying to help themselves and to get to where they're at. So never be ashamed. And I think the stigma of that has lessened, now, which it's Mental Health Awareness Month. It's May. Yeah. And I just want to encourage people that if you need help, go and get it. There are many free resources out there too. A lot of people go, I don't have the money. Well, there's community boards out there in different cities that you can go to. You can get some help, some free help. So anyway, that's something.
That's great advice, Sandy. And I think this last year and a half with COVID really brought a lot of heightened awareness individually, collectively in families, collectively in community, seeing that stress of this environment that we in creating. And I think it says, what, I can get help with this. I can manage this more effectively. So great message. Too many people have tied up on the stigma of mental health.
And I know of many churches that will actually help their parishioners get that help. They will actually help them to do that. They will actually help, provide that for them as well. So it just depends on what your church is. And, there's a lot of help out there. There's coaches, there's pastors, there's counselors, just get the help that you need, because, this is, you got one life and you're living it. So you might as well live it successful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, my friend, sunshine. Yeah, it's out. Well, you're who's this, Sandy? No, it's sunshine.
Thank you.
As a kid, every kid's got to have a nickname, right?
That was my nickname. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to say what mine was a negative, so I won't.
Oh, no negatives, no negative ones. All right.
It rhymes with my name, so it was one thing kids do, So little animal, little furry animal with a little pug nose name on it. So
Yeah. Gosh.
Kids.
We
But
need to see it.
anyway,
Yeah.
I'm going to put you in the green room. Thank you much, Sandy.
Thank you.
I appreciate you, making that decision to come on last minute here.
Thanks for letting
I've
me
had a
share.
ball.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Tom.
All right, I'm going to put you in that green room there. Enjoy the
snacks.
the negotiated M&Ms. I didn't get
I
any
was
of the
gonna
blue
say,
ones
is
for
there
you.
some snacks in there? All right.
All right. All right. Thanks, Sandy. There's Sandy Archer. Sunshine. I've given her a new name, or it's out. So, hey, I'm so grateful that she was able to make it on. I had a lot of fun. I pull something out every time I bring a guest in. There's so much everybody has to contribute, and never hold yourself back to share, because you never know how your wisdom, your knowledge can change somebody's life. I mean, physically change their life, not just the operating in life, but how you operate, how you engage with people could be the difference in somebody living or dying. Seriously. So it's a serious thing how we engage with it. Sandy, I appreciate you coming on at the last moment. Just hang on here for a minute and we're signing out. To get a hold of Sandy, there's her link for her linked. I don't know how to say that. Linktree / that will give you all her resources. Reach out to Sandy and engage with her to find out how she can help you with anything that you're dealing with today. So everybody have a great day. I'm grateful for this moment. I'm grateful that Sandy was able to come on today. Have a great weekend. Be safe and have a great weekend again. So we're signing out.